Hello everyone, welcome on in. It is Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show with me, your host Nigel Seeley. Joining me as per usual is our senior ATP Tour handicapper. It is Sean Calvert. Before we introduce you to Sean, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like, give us a comment. Thanks for all the views here in Madrid Masters. And let's get this done really, really quickly in case we have a power outage here in London, which means we might not be able to continue the show like they did yesterday. Have you heard anything like that before, Sean? Power outage taken out whole countries. Tennis not play for a day. Incredible. We thought we might have got away with it today, but we didn't. Matches to be played. But what an incredible day yesterday.
Yeah, it was a weird one, wasn't it? I have heard of, and I have witnessed at first-hand incidents where the power has kind of gone in the scoreboard, temporarily. The power went in Santiago as well, didn't it, earlier this year? February, I think it was, on the Golden Swing. I remember watching a particularly combustible match between Damir Zuma and Corentin Moutet, and there was problems with the power then. And that was an issue, obviously, with the floodlights, so they couldn't play, and then there was a problem. And if you remember rightly, or I remember rightly, Corentin Moutet got in it doesn't take him much to get angry, does it? But he got angrier because he couldn't get his rackets restrung because they had no power to restring the racket. So it did happen a little bit in Santiago, but nothing like an entire day.
Entire city,
country, yeah,
countries, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, that was. I'm pretty sure that's never happened before. Not in the sort of getting on for 20 years that I've been sort of covering tennis. I don't recall that happening anymore. But my memory isn't the best. Maybe it has. I don't know.
No, I don't think it would happen. They did lose power in Montpellier when I was in Montpellier because of a really bad thunder and lightning storm.
Oh, the water, yeah.
Yeah, when we were there this year as well. But I just thought to myself, can you imagine what you had to do? You got no cash, you got no betting apps on your phone. People in Madrid.
How would you survive, Nigel?
They would. I don't know. You would have to talk to the wife all evening without looking at you. A whole evening conversation. Like what? Come on, no mobile phone, no television. Yeah, well, he would have done last night. You'd have to talk to people. How would you cope with talking to people, Sean? Strangers.
I would still have found a way to survive. Yeah, don't worry about me. I can find all sorts of things. So I could probably have gone and wandered off and found myself a new bus route or something. And
but no buses were running.
Were they not? Why can't they run?
The traffic lights went down. There was no buses.
Okay.
You couldn't pay anything. You couldn't tap your card. You wouldn't be able to get a ticket.
So you were just sat there on your own, literally twiddling your thumbs for a day.
Not for doing nothing. Okay. No, you couldn't buy anything. All the supermarkets unless you had cash.
Well, that's that. Cash is king, isn't it? It'll teach you to keep, a few $100 in your wallet. Just I always do, just in case you need it. There you go. Lesson for everyone.
There you go. Sean Calvert's wallet. I've seen a few times. There's never £200 in there. I can assure you.
That is perhaps an exaggeration. Yeah.
Let's move on to the tennis action. We have three matches we are going to discuss over in Madrid. We have reached the quarterfinals, haven't we? Some of these quarterfinal matches, aren't they?
Round 4, we're looking at.
Round 4. Wait, I don't even know what round we're at. Round 4. It's a tournament of shocks. Alexander Zverev just gone out. Carlos Alcaraz obviously pulled out the tournament. I mean, who's going to win this tournament? It's wide open. And yet again, we've been hit by the curse of the injured player.
I mean, I don't really... I'm not sure I've got anything else to say about this, have I? I mean, people watching this show now must be thinking, how many times has he said this? But, Berrettini today, not unexpected after he got injured, Berrettini in his previous match against Marcos Giron, not a massive surprise that he retired today, but he did have that extra day, didn't he? Because of that outage. So I thought that the extra day, maybe that would help him. He cashed our bet actually, didn't he? The over 12.5 in set 1, just about. But yeah, I think we've had. I'll have to look back at the all the bets and all the picks on the outrights, and we'll talk about it just before Rome because it's got to be like the 11th or 12th outright that we've had this year. That's mid-tournament withdrawn, either sick or injured or whatever. I think it's either 11 or 12, which is like minus 12 units of just complete nothing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've never known it. I was flabbergasted when it was like 7 or 8. I mean, 12 is crazy, but it's been that sort of season, hasn't it? Everyone's injured all the time. They play way too much tennis over a ridiculous amount of time, like 11 months of the year. The courts are getting slower, the balls are getting slower. This is going to happen more and more often, I think. With it's something the players have mentioned many times. It's not sustainable, is it? These guys are just they're just really struggling with the demands of the tour.
Let's have a look at our P&L. We haven't looked at our P&L for a while. I'm going to get the graphic to move up there. Will give us our P&L.
We had a few winners today, didn't we?
And our P&L, yeah, it's only minus 3.41 on the season. And when you consider that
bad
12 points of that have gone on the futures markets on players that are pulled out injured, that shows you the bit of the hard luck that we've had on this show. So minus 3.41 on the year. And I'm not quite sure. I'm sure that John will send me a message. I think that includes today's bet. He might actually not include today's bet. If it hasn't, then we're probably in profit. But when you consider about the outright markets that are going down, that's how it is. Let's have a look at some matches.
Shows the match bets are doing well anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So let's have a look at some match bets, and we'll have a look at tomorrow and see if we can continue with this run of match bets. And we have first match is Francis Tiafoe against Matteo Arnaldi. Arnaldi is the player who beat Novak Djokovic, obviously, early in the tournament. Arnaldi is minus 129 favourite here against Francis Tiafoe at plus 105. Spread is minus 1.5 for Arnaldi and plus 1.5 for Tiafoe. And the total is 22.5. They have met once before. It was an epic in 2024, last year at Wimbledon, where Tiafoe won 3 sets to 2. Arnaldi took the first set 7-6, and then the rest of them were all quite one-sided. But I actually looked at this match here, and I was a little bit surprised that he was a favourite here, a clear favourite here, Arnaldi. I thought this would be a genuine 50-50 call, or perhaps even a small favourite for Tiafoe, who did us a favour today in his win over Muller. Admittedly, Muller wasn't fit, but I'm quite surprised he's a little bit of a dog here.
Was Muller not fit? He looked all right to me.
I thought we said he weren't. I think there was some kind of injury he had to him.
No, I said he played 2.5 hours the previous match against Humbert, who was injured.
Right,
he was fine. He played an awful lot of tennis. Alexander Muller, yeah, that's for sure. But I don't think he was unfit today. I mean, it was a
good win for Tiafoe then.
It was good. I watched the match earlier on. It was one of the matches that was on this morning. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that. I think Tiafoe should be favourite for this. When I looked at the odds, well, I looked at this match before I saw the odds, and I was just going through the statistics and all that, and then I saw the odds, and I thought that's very strange to me. I don't agree with that at all. The Muller match went the way that I'd hoped. You know, a pretty easy winner really for the handicap play, very easy in fact, and it was built around the first serve. Like I said, a much stronger first serve for Francis Tiafoe. He's now won 88% of his first serve points so far this Madrid against Darderi. Okay, Darderi was a little bit injured or whatever, and now he's beaten Muller as well. But very impressive. As I've said, it's about first strike tennis in Madrid. If it's warm, sunny, quick, you can play essentially hard court kind of game on these courts for sure. And versus Arnaldi at Wimbledon, that match that you talked about last year, Tiafoe won 79% of his first serve points in that match against only 63% for Arnaldi. So again, this is a matchup with one player who has much bigger weapons than the other, certainly in terms of first serve. The head-to-head of that match, by the way, with the results, the statistics of those 5 sets, 106-94 in favour of Francis Tiafoe there. He should have won the first set as well, incidentally. I think he served for the first set in that match, but in the end, he had to win it. He was a comfortable winner in the end. Arnaldi couldn't really handle the power. I know it was on grass, but it's not quick grass at Wimbledon these days. It's not. If you look at the stats, actually, the service holds here in Madrid around about 81.5%. That's pretty much the same as Wimbledon. I know it's slightly different, lower bouncing, all that sort of stuff, but pure speed-wise, there's not a great deal of difference between Wimbledon and Madrid, really. And again, I just feel like the bigger weapons are going to be the key difference in this match. As I've said before, Tiafoe, his first serve holds up very well against the current top 20. Last 12 months, he's won 76% of his first serve points against the current top 20. Arnaldi just 67%. So he's giving up something on first serve. I mean, Arnaldi's going to have to win this with consistency, which he wasn't able to do at Wimbledon. Tiafoe's into this tournament now. He's lost a lot of matches, Tiafoe, this year in kind of the second round. Now I feel like he's into this tournament. I said before the Muller match that he should be looking at this draw thinking, I can make the final here. Now he's got the winner of Draper or Tommy Paul if he beats Arnaldi, and a semi-final which would be eminently winnable, or he'll think so anyway. So, half the battle with Tiafoe is can you get him to bring that energy, that motivation, that being pumped upness, whatever you want to call it. A lot of the time he's a bit flat. But he should be into this tournament now. Even if you're pricing this, by the way, on clay stats, which isn't often a great thing to do at this tournament. Even if you're saying this is a clay court match, the last 12 months on clay at main level, it's Tiafoe with the better statistics: service points won and return points won at 102, Arnaldi 99.5. So if you're pricing it on pure clay stats, you still wouldn't make Arnaldi favourite. I mean, Tiafoe was a 1.6 minus 167 chance, or priced up as such ahead of that Wimbledon match. Now he's plus 105. I don't get it. I don't get it. So I'm quite happy on the matchup. I'm happy with it. On the stats, I'm happy with it. So yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that he's plus 105.
Yep, Tiafoe plus 105. I haven't got a sneaky feeling that plus 105 won't last the night. So if you are going to get involved, make sure you head across to the Bet Rivers website or the app. Download the app. If you do have a bet, you'll be able to watch the bet live as well as place the bet live as well. Plus 105 is the price. But yeah, I think there's going to be a little bit more money coming for Tiafoe in the next, or over the course of the evening. And it might start a genuine 50-50 call. But Francis Tiafoe, on the eye test, looked the wrong price at plus 105. And with all the stats as well that Sean has backed it up, that Francis Tiafoe should be at least a joint favourite for this match. Producer Jonathan has told me, yes, that is the right figures. They are including today's winners. So we're minus 3.42 units. So let's move on to our next match, which is Jack Draper up against Tommy Paul. A very interesting match. You wouldn't expect neither of these players really to do too much on a clay court, but both of them now will think they can win it. That's how much the tournament has opened up. These are two no strangers to each other. They played 4 times before last year, and it was 2 wins apiece last year. The overall head-to-head is 3-2 to Jack Draper. They've had some long battles in the Grand Slams. The Australian Open, it went to 4 sets. Queen's Club went to 3 sets in it on class, which Paul won. But in a couple of the best of 3 sets, they've been fairly comfortable winners. This is their first meeting on clay. Tommy Paul's had a couple of great wins by standards. Fonseca, Kachanov, and Draper's had a really good win against Grigor, and then he ran into an injured Berrettini. I like what I see from Jack Draper, and you've said it many times, he's a work in progress, but minus 162, I wouldn't bet Jack Draper at minus 162. Plus 125 is for Tommy Paul, and the spread 1.5 total here is 22.5. I suppose if I was looking for an angle, I'd probably look at the over games or first set overs, but Jack Draper, clay, last 16, Madrid, minus 162,
No, not for me. I'm kind of the same way of thinking as you. It's too short, really. It's a tricky one, this, because the head-to-head's quite a strange one, by the way. They've played 2, 4, 5, 6, like 13 sets against each other on hard and grass, and none of them have been a tiebreak, which is quite... A lot of them have been like, there's a 6-love, 6-2, 6-1. Quite strange, considering the way that these two play, particularly Draper with his serve. The overall head-to-head, by the way, of those 5 matches, 4 of them on hard and 1 of them on grass, the service points won and return points won totals 105 to 95 in favour of Jack Draper. So if you're a head-to-head better, you probably wouldn't mind the minus 162. You probably think that's not bad. But, this is clay. I mean, the main difference in the head-to-head, those stats that I've just looked at, is the serve of Draper, as you would probably expect. He wins 78% of his first serve points in this matchup. Tommy Paul only wins 69% of his first serve points, and Tommy Paul's only winning 32.7% of return points. So it's the weapon of Draper, the lefty serve, the big first serve that's been doing the damage. You could certainly argue that in these quick conditions in Madrid, it may continue to be that way. But the question is, it's not just about the first serve, really. I mean, you've got to think about Draper's movement on clay. It's not the same as hard courts and grass. He said it himself. He is a work in progress on this surface. Yeah, his serve's going to hold up really well, I would think. But it is the rest of his game. It's not quite natural yet. Tommy Paul is got a decent clay pedigree for sure. I think he won the French Open Juniors, didn't he, on clay, if I remember rightly. Certainly got a decent pedigree on clay. Both a little bit unproven at this tournament, though. Tommy Paul, he's only won 34% of return points at this tournament. Fortunate against Fonseca. Certainly fortunate to win it in straight sets. Kachanov, again, that was a final set. Kachanov fell away physically during the final set of that one. I don't know whether he's still perhaps bothered by that back issue that he had, but maybe just fatigue. He went a long way in Barcelona, but he certainly fell away a bit. So I'm not totally sold on what Tommy Paul's done here so far. I don't think it perhaps will amount to that much. But if you look at what, as I say, the Madrid records, Tommy Paul's only won 34% of return points here. Draper's only won 31.7% of return points here. Both guys have held to 85% of the time at this tournament. Given how Jack Draper is still really learning how to play on clay, I certainly couldn't back him at minus 162. It just feels like another overs match to me. I would be interested in over 2.5 sets here. I think this will be another up and down one. I don't think Tommy Paul's playing his best tennis. Draper, as I said, is a little bit suspect on the clay still. I feel it could be a swingy one. Over 2.5 sets, when I had a look earlier, was around about plus 130. That's probably where I'd go on this one, but it is a tricky one.
Yeah, this match will start at around about 12 p.m. 10 a.m. Local Eastern time tomorrow. It's around about 3 o'clock in the UK, so 4 o'clock over. The order players just come out. I'm just trying to convert it here. The Francis Tiafoe match, and Arnaldi is the first match on court. One thing I didn't ask you about, Sean, the weather conditions. Is it still going to be fair tomorrow? Is it no real problems in terms of an early start or a late start? So that'll be a 7 a.m. start, Tiafoe against Arnaldi.
Yeah, weather tomorrow, 21 degrees and cloudy. A bit of rain is expected, but not until much, much later in the day, like sort of midnight or whatever. So not quite as hot as it has been, but still decent. No real problems as far as that's concerned. I've got a slightly updated stats as well, actually, but they don't really tell us anything that we didn't already know. After 71 matches, 81.3% holds, 71.8% first serve points won, which is almost exactly the average of Madrid over the last sort of 10 editions or whatever.
So going to the course stats over the years, nothing's really changing. The weather a little bit cooler tomorrow, so there's no real advantage going to start or late. One match is going to be the last match on court. On the outside courts is the next match, and the final match we're going to discuss is Grigor Dimitrov against Gabriel Diallo, who beat Cam Norrie today. Dimitrov minus 225 beat another Brit in Jacob Fernie, and he didn't play very well actually. Grigor Dimitrov, I wasn't convinced by him at all. I watched that match. Thought Dimitrov was really poor. Plus 175 for Diallo. Spread is 1.5. Total here is 22.5. Never met before, as you would probably surprising, really. Not surprising, he's never met before. But Dimitrov, quarterfinals in Monte Carlo, going about his business here. Okay, beat Jarry, beat Fernley, but didn't play well today. Didn't play well at all today. And Diallo battled back against Norrie. Norrie won the first set, got off to a good start, and he battled back well.
Yeah, I mean, this should have been Jiří Lehečka's part of the draw, shouldn't it? Which is how I planned it out at the start. Alcaraz looking unlikely to play, or certainly unlikely to get through, given his injury conditions. All set up for Lehečka. Decides to lose to Cam Norrie. I mean, at least he wasn't. At least he completed the match, which is a rarity for one of my outrights. But very disappointing defeat that was for Lehečka. Anyway, so instead of Lehečka, we've got Diallo, the lucky loser. Lost to Coric, I think, in qualies. This one, again, it feels like a sort of a set one overs sort of match to me, rather than the over totals. The opening set, I think, will probably be competitive. I mean, Dimitrov often struggles. You said he wasn't playing well. I don't think he's really playing that well either at the minute. He's certainly got a chance to improve as this tournament goes on, but he certainly struggles to break big servers. He certainly has throughout his career struggled to break the guys that I have listed in my database as big servers. And he's facing Diallo, who has got a big serve for the first time in his career, which is, far from easy thing to do. You've not faced this guy before. You don't know his patterns. You're not picking his spots initially straight away. And if we look at what these guys have done at this tournament so far, pretty strong on first serve. 74% first serve points won Diallo. Dimitrov also 74% first serve points won. Both of those stats, well, the same one, 74%, is 2 to 3% better than the tournament average. So you've got two guys whose first serves are very effective here. Dimitrov also averages 74.5% first serve points won at this tournament in his career on clay. It was played on indoor hard. Dimitrov is old enough to have played it on indoor hard, but he only played one match, I think, way back in the day. So his first serve here is effective. If you look at what Dimitrov's done against the big servers that I have in my database, it kind of tells a tale. 92% holds of serve for Dimitrov, but only 11.3% breaks of serve, winning just 31.9% of return points and playing 0.37 tie breaks per set. So in a nutshell, he has no or few problems holding against the big servers, struggles to break them. I imagine he'll most likely get on top of Diallo eventually. I've just looked at the schedule. Actually, this is a 7:30 p.m. match, which I don't think will be ideal for Diallo. It makes me slightly less keen on the set one overs, but I still think, even at that time of the evening, Diallo should still be able to cause Dimitrov some problems on first serve. I just feel like it'll take him Dimitrov will take a while to get on top of Diallo, get the reads on the serve. So over 10.5 games in set one, which I looked at earlier, was around about plus 170. That would probably be the way that I would go in this one. Although, as I said, I just looked at the schedule, and the evening match makes it a little bit less keen. But I still think Dimitrov will take a while to get on top of him.
There are the three matches that we knew when we put this podcast together, but there has been another one just being announced as the results are going in around us, and it's quite interesting. It's Lorenzo Musetti against Alex de Minaur, and I just want to talk to you very briefly about this because it's a 50-50 call. It's minus 110 both players, and obviously we had an invested interest with Musetti in Monte Carlo. We come through against de Minaur only a couple of weeks back now. Yeah. And he was lucky, very lucky to beat Alex de Minaur. In that match, de Minaur started at plus 106. He's now minus 110. The head-to-head is 2-1 to Musetti. Musetti looked quite good today against Stefanos Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas had an awful amount of unforced errors, but Alex de Minaur has been pretty impressive all spring, I suppose, on the clay. Semi-finals of Monte Carlo, quarterfinals in Barcelona, beaten by Alcaraz, where he gave Alcaraz a few problems early doors. And hasn't dropped the set yet against Sonego and Shapovalov. I just wanted to get your little thoughts on this one very, very briefly. I mean, minus 110. Would you stick with Musetti, or do you think that this on these quicker conditions, it's de Minaur's time to revenge?
Yeah, I think Dimitrov will really fancy his chances of getting revenge in these conditions. Monte Carlo very slow. Obviously Madrid much quicker. I haven't got the stats to hand, obviously, of that previous match, but I remember talking about it, and I seem to recall that de Minaur was a reasonable amount ahead, and it felt like a little bit of burglary, really, with Musetti ending up winning it. I think it was 7-6 in the third, wasn't it, if I remember rightly?
It was.
Final set tiebreak, yeah. It felt like that was a match that Alex de Minaur should have won, but didn't, and given that this is going to be quicker, if you're asking me who I would bet if they were both joint favourites, I probably would come down on the side of Alex de Minaur. That would be my first thought about it anyway.
Yeah, Alex de Minaur minus 110. That is the final match on the day. It's 9:30 across in the UK, which is 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. So there is a whole day of tennis action, providing the lights do not go out. The lights never go out on Betting Weekly Studios here on YouTube. As I said, make sure you subscribe. Betting Weekly Tennis Live. We'll be back tomorrow with Roy Girani and Tim Dennis. I'll be on Betting Weekly Live looking at the big Champions League semi-final first leg between Inter Milan and Barcelona. And there's a whole lot of action coming again later on this week. Now, because of this lights action, it's very hard to schedule a podcast because we don't know really what matches we can talk about. It's late in the day. Hopefully we can get one more in before the end of the week. And if we can, fingers crossed, we'll do that on there. If not, you can follow us on our socials at Because We Win. Either Sean or myself will put a little bit of a daily preview on the Instagram account or on the Twitter account, which you can follow both of them at Because We Win. But the most important thing for you to do for us today is please hit the subscribe button. Please, not many of you will watch the show. I think we've got an average of about 2,000 people to watch it, and only about 40% of you actually subscribe. So it doesn't cost you anything. Please hit the subscribe button. It's really, really important to keep these shows going, get more subscribers, and get our algorithm going so we can get 10,000 subscribers, which is what we want to do very, very quickly. So if you're enjoying the shows, please hit the subscribe button. I know it's a bit short notice, Sean, and it's a little bit rushed today, but it was good to check in with you, looking at those three matches there and a little bit of a lean for the de Minaur match. What's our official play, Tori? Just going all in on Tiafoe, just the one play?
Yeah, taking Tiafoe plus money. There is some breaking news, actually. Djokovic has pulled out of Rome just now.
Oh, right.
So that would be interesting to futures bettors, I should think, with an eye on the French Open. Not too sure what the reason is for that yet, but yeah, no Djokovic for us in Rome next week. But yeah, as far as the official pick is concerned, plus 105 Tiafoe as underdog to beat Matteo Arnaldi.
I was just talking literally 20 minutes ago on Betting Weekly Live with Dustin Fox, and it doesn't seem right, does it, that Yannick Sinner has had a 3-month off punishment ahead of the Rome Masters with no Djokovic, no Alcaraz fit, going into
Alcaraz might play Rome, mightn't he?
Yeah, he's not going to be 100% fit, is he? He's like, he's come pulled out this tournament with an injury. I mean, is that any punishment? Is that any punishment?
Well, I said at the time it was ridiculous. You don't negotiate a ban, do you? Don't need to go into all of that again. But to say to a guy, look, we've let you play the Australian Open. You can have a few months off now, but you can come back for Rome, your home tournament, and you'll be fine for the French Open. It's no sort of punishment, is it? It's a bit of a shambles, but there.
And everyone's dropping like flies, and he comes back fresh as a daisy. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah,
what kind
it's
of punishment
crazy, but
is
that's tennis politics for you.
That is. Anyway, that's it for Betting Weekly Game Bet Match today. We'll be back hopefully later on the week. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the sunshine wherever you are in the world. Cash some tickets. Make sure you bet some winners. And we're cheering on Francis Tiafoe tomorrow. It's our only official play. Take care.